So today we're going to be building a tool that I have needed and wanted for a very, very long time. Commonly known as the shaving horse. I think an older term is drawbench or drawing bench. And it is a kind of clamp for clamping wood pieces while you work them with a draw knife. That's basically all it's for. But that is something that comes in handy a lot. And I'm going to be really, really glad when I finally have a shaving horse and don't have to clamp pieces of wood in the vise. That doesn't work very well, but that's what I have to do every time I want to make a tool handle or anything like that. So today is woodworking with my friend Ryan and my friends Drew and Roy. So I have these two books. One is the Woodwright Shop. These are both old copies with Roy Underhill, and a lot of people will recognize Roy. And he has a section in here on building a shaving horse. And Country Woodcraft by Drew Langsner is another favorite book of mine. I've actually never built a shaving horse before. And so these books together are going to be basically our textbooks for this project. So this log has been sitting on the ground for probably a year. So it's still wet, but it's not really technically still green. And I don't think it's really too far gone to use for this project. I hope it's not. It really was a nice log to begin with, and so I hate seeing it become just firewood. This is a nice white oak log, really straight grained. And the first thing to do is to split it in half, and I always look for any cracks that are already in the end of the log. This log had a little bit of a crack right here, so I'm trying to align this split with that crack. And we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start this. This wedge may or may not start well. If it doesn't, I'll get a smaller one. So I'm going to kind of score along that line that I marked with the froe. If I didn't do this, if I started to drive a wedge in here, the crack might wander off in another direction and not go straight across. It's starting. It's also trying to wander a little bit right there. So now we're just going to leapfrog these wedges down the crack. So put a wedge in as far up the crack as you can reach. Okay. As far up as you can get it started. You start it with this hammer. See, I can see it right there. Yeah. And then just drive them in. Drive them in with the maul. I would just drive one at this point. Drive the one in front. Yep, just keep driving it. It's not a perfect split. It's not a perfect split because it wandered a little bit, but totally fine for what we're doing. There is an old story. I don't know if it's true or not. There's an old story about some settlers in I don't remember if it was Kentucky or Virginia, during the Revolutionary War period, when some of the Indians went on the warpath, and dude was out splitting a big log for rails for his rail fence, and these Indians came up, all painted up and everything on the warpath, and they said, they informed him that they were going to kill him. And he's like, well, said, all right, I guess I'll die like a man, but I'd really, really like to split this log. This log, I've been fighting this log all morning. I'd really like to get it split before I die. And He asked them to grab a hold of the split to help him pull it apart, and all 4 of them did, and he knocked the wedge out, and their hands were stuck fast. All right, it'll come open now. Perfect. So now we've got a little bit of a twist, which isn't really a problem, and Roy Underhill in his book says don't even worry about the twist, but I would like to straighten the twist out if at all possible. So most of the wedges I have are just simple felling wedges designed to go into a chainsaw cut when dropping a tree, felling a tree. And for starting into a log like this, they don't work very well. The edges are fairly thick, as you can see, and as you try to drive them in, they kind of pop back out. This is a starter wedge that I forged, and you can see how thin the edge is, and that will make it stick really well and not bounce out while I'm starting the split. So this is a very unscientific physics lesson, because I am not a physicist nor a scientist. I guess I'm an experimental scientist of sorts. So I don't understand the physics of all this. I'm just going to explain it the way I understand it. The larger the mass of the struck tool, the more energy is soaked up or dissipates in the tool. So the heavier the wedge is in relation to the hammer that's used, the more energy is lost in the wedge. And another aspect of this is on all struck tools, when you're using metal hammers on metal wedges or metal struck tools, you'll get mushrooming. And it's my theory that all other things being equal, you get less mushrooming with a lighter wedge and a heavier hammer, because the mass of the wedge acts as an anvil basically for the mushrooming. The mushrooming's happening because the metal's soft, and that's where the most energy is being dissipated or expended in the end, and then the amount of energy that makes it through to a given point is less and less down the length of the wedge. So basically what we are doing is making a board without a saw. Ooh, that's not what I wanted. It also may be shallow. So after flipping this over and looking at the split that I tried to correct, I have come to the conclusion this is just not going to work. It is, we're going to have to scrap this as our main bench plank, but it'll work fine for some of the other parts we need. So all is not lost, but we're going to go to this other piece, the outside slab that we split off, And we're just going to go ahead and flatten it the way it is, and then hew the sapwood off, and make that our main bench. So I'm scoring. I'm not very good at this, but I'm scoring across the grain because then it's much easier to break big chunks out. I need to do this more often.
Seems like a pretty good workout. It's like that quote in the book, holes. If you take a bad boy, you make him dig holes in the hot sun all day, he turns into a good boy.
Right?
Take a bad boy, make him swinging abs all day, he turns into a good boy. Man, you made this look so easy.
I've been feeling bad because I feel like I am an absolutely horrible person to try to introduce you to the joys of hand tools.
Hey, someone's got to do it.
Unfortunately.
My favorite real clean joke is, so a three-legged dog walks into a bar and says, "I'm looking for the guy that shot my paw."
See, like, once again, mine are always a little less clean. So, drunk goes into a bar, walks up to the bar to order a drink. He's just slobbering drunk. And the bartender says, "No, sir, I'm not serving you. You're drunk enough. You need to go home and go to bed." And the guy's like, "I'm not drunk." And so they argue about it for a little while, and then the bartender says, "All right." He says, if you're so sober," said, "what's that coming through the front door?" The guy squints, kind of looks. He's like, "That's a one-eyed cat." Said, "You're drunk. Go home. That cat was going out."
Oh man, good one. I have to remember that.
That's really not bad at all. I'm gonna give it a finishing pass.
Okay.
And call it good. All right, now just stand there and hold it, Ryan.
Okay. You're just gonna throw the axe? I'll
Yeah.
just hold it just like this?
Yep. So I want to take off most of this rotten sapwood because while I can't prove this, maybe somebody else will be able to tell me, but I'm convinced that the wood will last longer if that rot is cut off. The heartwood will last longer. All right. So if the plank comes out twisted, this is what he says to do. Basically, you make the riser, which is the piece that angles upward here, out of the matching piece.
Yeah.
And basically it levels out in the middle of the bench.
Okay.
Which if that piece is made out of the piece that you split off of this piece, the twist will match pretty well. Alrighty. But we've got a nice flat bench now, and I'm working on the riser right now. So in the interest of time and the fact that I don't have a good crosscut saw sharpened yet, that's coming. And in the interest of my sore muscles, I'm going to use this modern infernal machine to cut these next few parts to length. So we're going to cut a 20-inch piece. Actually, we're going to make it a little longer for Ryan's sake. 22-inch piece for legs. All right. So now I have to split that into legs. There we go. And now I want to lean this. And one of the ways that I've done this, because this auger is almost the same length as the leg's going to be, I try to imagine where do I want the foot to wind up. And then I'll look at the end of the auger and imagine it as the leg. But we want it to splay outwards this way for stability side to side on the bench. And we also want it to splay this way, long ways with the bench. And that makes it resist racking. That helps the, as far as racking end to end. That looks like a lot of angle, but I promise you it won't when the leg goes in. So I got into this project because a few days ago, another friend of mine, Daniel, came over and we impromptu just launched right into building ourselves each a drawbench. And so here we are right in the middle of 3 drawbenches. So I made it round. And now I'm taking just a little extra off of 2 opposing sides to make it oval. So now we're going to eyeball that. Move it up just a hair. So we made good progress today. And we got our bench almost legged up. We'll probably go ahead and finish getting the last 2 legs in it. And then the next stage, which I suppose will be in part 2, is to build the working parts of the drawbench, which basically consists of a foot-operated clamp so that you can hold pieces that you're shaving with the draw knife.